Hi everyone and welcome back. Welcome to another video of this series Ninja Developer. Okay, in this video we will talk about how we should approach our development, right? Everybody knows how to write the code, but the only thing is how to approach and write the clean way of structure of your components, of your folders, or what kind of styling which you should adopt for your project. Styling means everything about your projects, how you are testing it, how you are structuring your files and folders, how you are putting the namings, what particular variable namings, folder namings, everything is inside this. Okay, so every JavaScript project, here I'm talking only about JavaScript because this whole playlist circles around JavaScript. We always have the package JSON, right? And in the last video we already talked about all these tools. I will be just initializing this repository. Okay, now I am on this repository. What I will do is I already have Node.js installed, so I have npm already there, right? Sorry for the typo. I will just switch my node version and we have npm. So what I will do is starting npm init, right? I will just simplify, create this package JSON. So this package JSON is there. Now this is required for any kind of JavaScript development, right? It will have a script, author, license, dependency, dev dependencies and all. So we need to worry about what we are putting inside a dependency, what we are putting inside a dev dependencies, because lots of developers messed up with this thing and then they just put random versions, random dependencies and all. Because you are a pro developer only if you know what you are including, how the compatibility list is there. Let's say you are installing some package which is not really compatible with other package, because in JavaScript, I spend most of the times on the GitHub issues. Why? Because sometimes you install a package version of library A of x.x and then you somehow install the latest version of library Y which is not compatible with the library X, and then you start getting the random errors. And then somewhere on the GitHub issues you say, okay, only this TypeScript version is compatible with this library and all, and it's all get messed up. That I agree. Everybody faces that all these issues, right? So we need to be compatible and we need to be looking at the warnings when you install any particular package. So let's say if I'm installing Express. So let's say if I'm creating a Node.js server, Express should be a dependency. Express I needs to bundle that in the package, in the service code. And if you are installing the typings, like let's say I am also installing the typings for the node, right? So I don't need to install this as a dev dependency. I don't need to install it as a dependency. I will be installing that as a dev dependency. So let's say types node, right? So what you do is, so because it enables the TypeScript behavior in my project, so I will be adding all my typings, all my dependencies which are related to the testing, because those are not going to be bundled up in our source code. We are not going to bundle our test cases in the final bundle which we are going to deploy, right? So all the dev dependencies will have all the dependencies which are dealing with the linting, prettier, testing, and all the types which we have in our project, like types node, types express, types jest, type debug, or because most of common JS modules which are like, okay, express, node and all, they don't come with the typings enabled. They have a separate module, so that you need to install that separate module as a dev dependency to enable the typings. And why we need typings? We are writing TypeScript, and if you are importing that library and doing express app.lation is not a method, it will throw an error, right? Because this compiler, because in the you are writing a TypeScript code which requires that each and every type is available for the compiler. Compiler already knows that app.lation is a method which takes these arguments of these types. Otherwise there will be a compiler error showing the red symbol. Okay, then you start adding, okay, I can see the 4000 dependencies. Obviously I need to add a git ignore, right? And if you don't know the git ignore, what it should contain, copy it from some existing git ignore file. Right now I can see I have only 3 files which I have changed. So it will contain build, dist, all the ds, all the files which I wanted to ignore. Let's say the coverage folder, everything which is inside coverage, test.vs code, whatever you want to exclude to be pushed to the GitHub, you will be adding that in the git ignore. And these are primarily the folders which you want to exclude, because on the GitHub or whenever you want to deploy this code, what you need, only the source code and the core dependencies, right? So you will exclude all those things. And node modules you are excluding because in the CI pipeline you will be adding these packages on the fly, and then creating a package, running the test cases, and all those things will happen. Okay, so you will adding the source code in source folder, and then you will start adding the everything you need, a source, test, and inside source code you will be creating your folder structures and all. So that depends on what kind of applications you are building. Now we are living in 2023, and obviously we won't be doing these things, okay, manually creating packages and importing the dependencies and all, because there are smart CLI tools are available. Next CLI, React CLI, Angular CLI, you name it. All these auto-generated tools are available. I mean, we are in the chat GPT world, and we cannot just write these manually. I mean, if I spend half an hour in setting up my baseline code, I'm just wasting my time. Obviously I need to understand, okay, how this is done, but now we are just using these CLI tools to automate these things. I mean, I will just do is a next CLI, install next CLI globally. How we do it is npm install -z and your package name. Let's say I think it's nest CLI. What it will do is it will install the nest CLI globally on the system, and then I can use this nest command to generate a simple nest.js project scaffolding, which contains even the project structure, the files, test cases, mock test cases already created. And then I think now I can play with this command. Oh, it's nest CLI. Yeah, it's nest CLI, and there is a command is generate new nest CLI. I always forget this command. Create new. Okay, so I mean, there is some command which will help you to create a simple nest.js app. Okay, similarly there is Angular CLI, create React app, create next app. These are auto generated CLI tools, so we are not worried about, okay, how the setup will be done, but we will understand it with the monorepo. That say you have a front end and a back end app, then how you can move the dependencies on the root. Because what happens is, let me just get rid of these things, or what I will do is I will just rename it to apps. I will remove the node modules, package JSON, we can still keep it, package lock, I will just remove it. We are going to create a workspace. Okay, that workspace is like PNPM workspace, NPM workspace, or yarn workspace, because in modern day we don't build just a front end, and we also build a back end. If you want to just create a nest.js app, you can just go to the nest CLI like this, nest.js CLI, and it will give you the scaffolding. And similarly there is Angular CLI that will give you a simple command. You install it globally and then simply create ng new my first project in Angular. And these are standards, because if you are trying to baseline your Angular app, baseline Nest.js app, baseline React app, you are wasting time by exploring those things. You can just use the CLI tools because they are optimized. Whatever they have in the dependencies are the optimized and the best for yourself to build an application. Similarly, there is an Angular app. Similarly, there is a Create React app. I hope you all are aware about all those things. So you can include it. I'm just talking about monorepo so that we can have multiple projects inside of one folder. If you want to spin up on the individual Express app, there is a, for Express there is a Express CLI generator. Express generator, I remember that was I was using it. It will help you to just create a basic scaffolding for the Express app. Similarly, there is an CLI to it will create all these folders, structures, and then you can customize the routes and all those things based on your demand. Okay, how you want to build the application, because Express is like open to the world. They can decide whatever they want. Nest.js is kind of opinionated. It has its defined structures, defined building blocks, which you need to follow to build the application. Okay, so how it will be different when we are using some monorepo and the workspace. So what I will do is there will be a root package JSON, and then there is a small package JSON in every project. So here I want to have a monorepo where I can keep only the application related project dependencies. So let's say this is a React and this is Nest.js project. We are putting inside a workspace. First of all, let's talk about workspace. I'm just using a PNPM workspace. Right, so what you need to do is for PNPM workspace, you just need to have a PNPM workspace YML, right, at the root of your project, which looks something like this. So I will just create a PNPM. Packages, apps. These are the two things I wanted to include inside a workspace. Is this typo? It's workspaces or workspace.yaml. I always do the same mistake. It's YAML. Now it looks correct. And then you can have a package JSON. Okay. And then you will. So what is the advantage here if you are using the workspace? You will just move all the common dependencies of all the projects which are related to the prettier, ESLint and Jest, Husky, all the common dependencies which you want in your project. Like we have a prettier, we have a ESLint, Husky, just a hook, GitHub hook, which runs the ESLint before you put a commit. So all those tools, what you will do is you will put inside a root project, means outside your workspaces. So I will have this package JSON will be populated with all those dependencies, and then in these applications I will be having Create React app, Nest.js app, Angular app, all those kind of applications, only focusing on the dependencies which those kind of applications needs. Okay, so we are going to use smart solutions in 2023. We are going to use monorepo, and here we are using workspace, so we can add a monorepo with nx. Nx is a monorepo which we can add. Now I need to switch to my node version is 16.18.0, and what I can do is pnpm install. Currently we don't have anything inside our packages or applications. Everything is empty. We don't have anything. So pnpm install will just see what is there in the package JSON. It will just install these dev dependencies and dependencies at the root. So it will just create a node modules, and that will be done. Now it comes to how we create a baseline setup for PNPM and monorepo, right? You need to have all the required dependencies. You need to bootstrap some of the applications. So that we will do. Here we just need to get on board all the required dependencies and dev dependencies, which are not specific to any tools or technology. These are some of the common dependencies I extracted out so that we can reference it. We don't need to install those dependencies again. Your packages and applications can reference from the root, because that is the use of this workspace we have added. If you are confusing with the workspace and monorepo concept, I would recommend you to check my playlist. That is fine. Otherwise, you can also start creating these baseline projects and understand these concepts. Now, how can I help you to become a ninja developer here? Because everybody knows how the monorepo, how to baseline a project, but we need to write a smart scripts so that we can do the linting properly. We can run the linting before putting a commit. We should be able to put a format a nice view of get commits using commit gen, commit CLI. And then we should have a prettier and ESLint setup so that all the prettier runs before you even add a new commit. And then obviously after this we will talk about the GitHub branching strategy. Either you use a GitLab, Bitbucket or GitHub. First of all, we just baseline a simple project, and then we'll see what all different scripts we need to automate these things like build, test and all, because you build a project, it's not done unless you don't deploy it. So there is a CI/CD involved for those. You create a test, npm run test, npm run build, npm run deploy, all those scripts you need here. So we will try to play with all those npm scripts in different applications. Before that, let's add some required dependencies. So let's do that in the next video.